Well, y'all, time for some R&R. And if you think we're talking about rest and relaxation, then you don't know us very well at all. Heck no, y'all. We're talking about Rosies and Rockies. Pulling up a chair with us today at elk camp is the ElkSinger himself, our friend from the Pacific Northwest, Mr. Tony Wintrip. Tony will be joining in and sharing decades of his elk hunting expertise, stories, differences, similarities, and how to adjust hunting strategies between the two subspecies. Yeah, buddy. Up next, a little music and a whole lot of R&R. That discussion, some ElkBros shoutouts, and questions from our great ElkBros mailbox. So, my friends, pull up a chair, adjust your volumes just right, and welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting.
Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunting, brought to you by ElkBros.com, with your host Gilbert Ornelas and elk hunting coach Joe Gillia. You want to hunt elk? They live to hunt elk. Their goal is to share with you what they have learned grinding it out for over 35 seasons, doing what they love. So come on into camp and set a spell. Welcome to Blue Collar Elk Hunters.
And bloody backs, somewhere deep in the mountains, Jack. Where I think about this pain that I love. I smoke this thing just like a drug. I'm addicted to big backs and bloody backs.
What's up, ElkBros? Chris Mckelvie from Santa Rosa, home of the Charles Schultz Museum, Snoopy, and the Luther Burbank Center. Out here trying to get some miles in on the hills today, in a park, unfortunately. Not out chasing elk, but prepping for my first elk season this season. Thanks for the show. Thanks for everything you guys put out. Thanks for all the hilarious commentary. And I'm sorry, Manano, but Luis, I think, still has it for the leader of the Venezuelan Mafia. Thanks, guys. Keep it up.
ElkBros, hey, it's Chad giving you guys a shout out. I'm up here on top of Manon Butte outside of Rexburg, Idaho, overlooking the Snake River right here. Whoop. This butte was formed by the volcanic hotspot that now sits under Yellowstone, so pretty cool spot. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Thanks, Chris and Chad.
Yeah.
That's how you open up a show with some video shout outs, fellas. Hello there, everyone. If it's your first time with us, glad to have you. Hope you enjoy our show. And as always, for those blue collar hunters grinding it out with us every week, welcome back to Elk Camp. I'm Gilbert Ornelas, the host of your show. And as usual, all the bros are in the house. We got the Venezuelan Mafia in the house. That's right, Luis Gonzalez and Manano Grateron. We call him Manano. And your elk hunting coaches are in the house. Leroy the Ninja Chavez and Joe WWJGD. What would Joe Gillia do is in the house. And tonight, fellas, pulling up a chair with us and joining us here at Elk Camp. You've heard his music at the end of our shows. Now, you get to meet the man behind the music. His hunting passion is second to none. And when it comes to success in the elk woods, he absolutely knows how to bring them in and close the deal. The ElkSinger himself and fellow grinder and our friend, Mr. Tony Wintrip.
What's up, guys?
What's up, fellas?
What's up, guys?
Welcome, Tony.
Tony, you might have to pull in a little closer, man, just so we hear you a little better. But there you go.
So good to have you, Tony. Thank you so much for all the music and what you put out for ElkBros, and we're so proud to be part of some of that, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for supporting me. I appreciate it 100%.
Absolutely.
Oh man, we opened up this show with actually live music from Tony.
Yeah.
Way cool, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, when you talk about big racks and bloody backs, Gilbert was just saying before we got on, Gilbert was telling Tony, he's like, yeah, man, those Rosies over there, man, they're big, and that's all I want is something to eat. We don't worry about them horns, man. We don't worry.
Not true.
Not true. It is true, guys. How many of y'all seen me? I don't kill big bulls every year, man. I don't discriminate against none of them, man. None of them. You got scrawny horns and you walk in front of the missile, it's over, buddy. You got no horns and I got to either sex tag, it's over. But listen, now you put them both together, now I'm going to get into, kill mode. I'm going to see if I can get in on one of
Now
the big
we're talking
bulls.
about exceptions, huh?
Yeah, there's exceptions to every rule, but I have never, Tony, I've never got to hunt Rosies, man. I gotta come do that. They're big, old, gnarly looking bulls. I've seen them on TV shows and, out in the wild one. I've been up there in the Pacific Northwest, and man, it's so cool to see that other subspecies, and I can't wait to hear about the differences.
Yeah, this terrain up here, it's so green, So for me, when I go over to Idaho or Oregon or whatever, where it's all dried out and stuff, I don't know. It just, once you see those creamy bodies over here against something, super green, like every bit of lush and just crap brush around here, it sticks out that much more.
Yeah.
You go hunt Rockies and you get out in the sage, or, you get in that dry mountainy stuff. There's an appearance that a creamy Roosevelt bull has. It's undeniable.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Tony, I know you're a musician by trade. Is that what you do for a living? You just gig and run the country, and you're a musician by trade? That's your craft?
No, I actually I run heavy equipment for a local county around here called Lewis County Public Works out of Chehalis, Washington, and it's kind of dead center between Portland and Olympia.
Okay.
So I do that, but I started writing it's been about 22 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I've just picked up gigs as much as I could along the way, and got some great opening acts. And then I started, writing in the hunting genre that nobody else was really doing. And there's a really weird story with Luke Bryan when he came out with that song, Hunting, Fishing, Loving Every Day. In 1959, I wrote a song called Hunting, Fishing, Loving, and Living.
Oh, wow. That's cool, man.
So many years later, nobody wanted to hear hunting music. They wanted country music.
Yeah.
And when that title came out, I thought, oh, Lord, I've missed out on millions of dollars. And of course, the song is way better than mine, but still, I guess I had the title, but
yeah.
I don't know about that, man. You got some really
Talent,
cool stuff, man.
absolutely.
Super talented guy.
Yeah.
And you have opened for some crazy people out there, man, huh?
I got to open for Charlie Daniels. Well, we did, me and my band. We won the Battle of the Band contest for Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. So awesome. we were voted the best band in 3 states, and the winner got to open 2 shows for Charlie. And I met him on the night of his 65th birthday. And
wow. What an honor.
When I shook hands with him, I always knew he was big, but he had this piece of cake for his birthday when he was getting on his bus, and it looked like a giant prime rib. It was just a big old piece of cake, and it was just, I didn't want to trouble him and spend too much time talking to him, but that's how I met him. But open for Clint Black, Derek Spantley, Bellamy Brothers, Juice Newton.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, just call me Angel in the morning, baby.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, others, so
very soon I'll be telling my kids that I, had a podcast with Tony Wintrip.
Yeah, man.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, my family's been in the music business for a long time. My uncle was the drummer for Sonny and Cher for a long time. He's been a drummer in many different bands, and studio musician as well. Had his own band in Malibu called Funk Attack for a long time. My sister's a really good singer. Got a little band down here that she runs around here in Texas with Brian Black, Clint's brother, and a whole bunch of those guys down here. The new rising star, and man, he won one of the Voices, Sundance Head. So she runs around with him down here gigging. She got a little band herself down here. She plays with Patrick Murphy and I don't play an instrument, but I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and I've just been too damn lazy to get and take the time. I'm either hunting or fishing or working somewhere. So, but we enjoy your music, brother, and we're very excited to see where this thing takes you, and anything that we can do to help you, man, we're going to help promote it.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
So, Tony, everybody's been talking to you about the music thing, but here's the thing, dude. I love your music, but I see the pictures, I see the videos. Look, your family has a history of getting it done. I mean, between you, your dad, your brother, you guys rock it over there, man. I mean, you guys are killers. That's all there is to it.
I'm with Gilbert in a lot of ways where, sometimes it's not all about the rack. I mean, we love to eat elk. I mean, we really do. And I get just as much joy out of shooting a raghorn, a 3-year-old bull as a 5-year-old bull, something like that. I mean, I love harvesting elk, and the camaraderie is my biggest thing. I still got my dad and my brother to hunt with every day, and it means the world to me.
No doubt. Tony, do y'all hunt with bow hunting equipment, or y'all rifle hunters?
I eat bow hunt, man.
Bow hunt.
All bow hunting.
Awesome, brother.
Yep, we bow hunt, and that's pretty much it. Just bow hunting. And of course, we did go on a rifle hunt in Idaho one year, and I hadn't been rifle elk hunting in a long time. And when the bull was at 90 yards, I was like, oh, it's too far. And then I went, wait a minute. That one, and we got him.
That's cool.
Point blank shot.
You do have both Rosie and Rocky experience, right?
Absolutely. Lots.
And you have Rockies in your home state. Do you hunt Rockies in your home state?
We can't unless we draw a tag here. So, but our neighboring state, Oregon, and then Idaho, 8
they got Rockies
away. We'll do one or the other every couple of years.
Gotcha.
So,
That's awesome, man.
Y'all hunt multiple states in multiple different phases, Tony, or y'all mainly just stay there in Washington?
No, we hunt multiple states.
Cool.
Like I said, basically just the close ones. Oregon, you could always buy a general tag, and then Idaho, you could buy a general tag. And now things have changed. I'm sure you guys are seeing the changes, which is fine. It is what it is, but they're so close, and I can't get enough of that 2-3 week rut. So I got to jump to a neighboring state and get some of that.
I'm with you, dude. I got to figure out a way where I can just hunt for a solid month somewhere, hunt New Mexico, then jump over to, maybe come up there and hunt with you guys in Oregon and Idaho. Man, it's got to happen. I mean, if I could just spend my September, my first part of October hunting elk, I'd be set, man, in high cotton. Guys, y'all know what time it is. It's time for the ElkBros shout-outs. If you're new to our show, this is shout-outs to a few cities with the most listeners, topping our charts this week, Joe.
Yeah, and thanks, man, to Chris Mckelvie of Santa Rosa, CA, Callie out there, Chad Hashin from Rexburg, Idaho. Chad just moved to Rexburg, and he moved to Rexburg so he could hunt elk, man.
I love that, Chad. I love that.
That is just awesome, man. Thank you guys for kicking off the show. And grinders, remember, you too can send a 15 to 20 second shout out video through a message. Just do the video. Make sure you do it in landscape view like you saw these guys do it here. Send it to us through a message either on our ElkBros Instagram, or you can email it, or you can email me at joe@elkbros.com that you have a clip, and I'll make sure that we find a way to get it linked to it.
Joe, can you explain to Manano what landscape is? Because, obviously he still hasn't gotten he doesn't fully understand the concept behind that.
Yeah, I noticed that on one of your videos that it was kind of...
it's still
Luis,
happening.
I noticed he's giving you the number one finger salute over there, man.
Yeah. We'll keep working on that.
That's what you call the California howdy.
Yeah. You ain't winning no friends over there, Joe. Be quiet.
Hey, Tony, man, as our guest tonight, pulling up a chair with us, bud, we would love for you to start us off with a shout out to your hometown.
I'd give a shout out to my hometown of Aberdeen, Washington. Things have changed a lot since I was a a kid there, but big timber industry way back when I was a kid, and the spotted owl put it out. It went kind of poverty stricken for many years, but I wouldn't write about the things I write about today if I didn't grow up in that town. And I live about 40 minutes from where I grew up now, and so it's close enough to say I still live around there, right?
Sir.
That's awesome,
Aberdeen,
man.
Washington's on the map tonight.
There we go. Aberdeen, Washington, man. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Joe, this week's top listening city is best known for its baked beans and the precious Fenway Park, the Boston Marathon, and of course, the bar from Cheers where everybody knows your name. It is the capital of Massachusetts and nicknamed the Bay State. It's located at the lowest point at sea level of the Atlantic Ocean, home to the rising artist and graphic designer Brittany Lore. Joe's daughter and Chav's niece live there in none other than Boston, Massachusetts.
Heck yeah, man.
Boston, MA.
I think it's so cool that that was up there like that, and I want you to know that it was the uncle that put that shameless plug in there, you know, man.
Yeah, she does amazing work.
Good on you, Unc.
I am so proud of both my daughter and my son-in-law over there. They're just killing it, doing some great things. Now they're living about 45 minutes outside of Boston, in a house from the 1800s, a 3-story home that, you know, it's just really, really cool what they're doing.
Cool.
And Brittany is phenomenal. She
And
really,
you've shared some of her art. You've shown us, and it's unbelievable, man.
Crazy.
Pretty impressive stuff. It just blows my mind to see people capable of just drawing stuff like that. You know, I couldn't ever, you know,
at the
generate something like that.
At the Ornelas suite in Joe's house, when I come to stay there, there's quite a bit of that art in that room in the Ornelas.
oh, that's right.
I dig it.
Some of
you
her
know.
first stuff, man.
I
When
dig
she
it,
was,
yeah.
she
I
was-
get the vintage stuff, Joe. That's the Ornelas suite. What are you talking about?
you know, she's with art, kind of like how Tony is with the music, man.
Yeah.
Kind of flows out, you know.
So our next stop listening city, the city was once called Mule Springs and has numerous nicknames, including Queen City of the Mountains for its majestic scenery and also called the poultry capital of the world. This most recent and honorable designation came from following the 1996 Olympics, where an NBC broadcaster covering the rowing kayaking event referred to the city as the hospitality capital of the world, none other than Gainesville, Georgia.
Gainesville, Georgia in the house. Georgia, peaches, man.
Got the Georgia Peach in here. The home state of Ty Cobb, one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
So Tony, you play over on that side of the world?
I do. Yep. Pretty much. I play a lot of taverns, bars, casinos, fairs. We used to play a lot of fairs, festivals, and ever since COVID, everything's went by the wayside. I think I canceled 15 gigs last summer between March and the end.
I'm sorry,
Very
man.
frustrating.
Now, here's the only thing I got to ask you, bro, is that, you know, I know you was raised right there in that Washington country, but dadgum if you don't sound like you're from country. Like,
Yeah, but you can hear some of that Washington pop out of him every now and then, Joe. I hear it. I can definitely hear it. But yeah, I mean, he's got that country twang. I mean, if you're gonna write a little country music and stuff, you better have some of that backwoods, woods moan about you a little.
but you don't fake that. I mean,
No.
where did you pick that up, Tony?
I don't know. I think it's from just bugling in the deep woods.
There you go. Good answer.
That's an answer.
Good answer. Good
Attaboy.
Chav.
Okay, up next. At the end of World War II, this city continued to be a center of production and research into nuclear energy and related technology. It is the home to the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory since 1965. The Wanapun, Yakima, and Walla Walla Indians occupied the area when Captain William Clark of the Lewis and Clark expedition visited the mouth of the Yakima River. And this is Richland, Oregon.
Richland, Oregon.
Richland, Oregon.
Yes, sir. Richland,
More
Richland.
Pacific Northwest in the house.
Yeah, man. And yet we have so many, Tony, we have so many listeners from Washington and Oregon, man. I mean, it's just awesome. And you know what's so cool about that is I'm always the first one to say, I have never hunted out of New Mexico. And that's one reason that we're doing this podcast today with you on it, is that, they've always been so kind that they listen to what we talk about with elk, even though we've never hunted Rosies before. And we're going to talk more about that when we get into this. But I just think it's so cool how many of our listeners come from that area, Northwest. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys very much.
You bet.
This top listening city was previously named Chester Township, then Cropwell Township before its final name change. A nice town, friendly people, welcomes visitors to this community. A must stop for visitors in the area is the Maple Shade Custard Stand, a South Jersey institution and one of the only places you can find peanut butter milk shake. Maple Shade, New Jersey.
Maple Shade,
New Jersey. Now I got to go find me one of them peanut butter milkshakes, son.
Yeah, because it wasn't peanut
awesome.
butter milk shaking. It was peanut butter milkshake, man.
Freaking made me hungry.
Yeah, I want one of them peanut butter milkshakes.
I have never heard of a peanut butter milkshake in my life, man.
I'm going to Maple Shade, New Jersey. The next time I'm there, I'm getting me
I'm
one.
gonna lie to myself and tell that's a diet drink.
Just like when I go through somewhere where they make the nuns Trappistine caramels, I'm stopping and getting me some, Joe.
That's right.
I went through those puppies real quick that you sent me, man. So
It was somewhere in Iowa, wasn't it, Joe?
oh gosh,
Like Des Moines, Iowa, or something like that?
yes,
Yeah.
I believe so, man.
For sure.
Trappistine nuns, man, with the Trappistine caramels.
I see. I mean, none of us had ever tried them chocolates, but only Joe gets a sample of them. I see. I
He
get it.
actually let me try.
I understand. That's all right. That's
When you
okay.
come stay on the Ornelas suite, you
Yeah.
put a couple of them on your pillows.
No,
They leave a couple on your pillows,
Hey,
It's sweet.
don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's all right. That's right. I'm just stating facts. That's all I'm doing. Stating facts.
So,
Joe, why don't you lead us into the topic of tonight's show?
I
Joe?
just want to so much, man. I am just so up for this because that's why we got Tiny Tony. And let me tell you what, Tony ain't tiny, man. That fella, he hits the gym every day. That's how he gets up and down. So, and I'll tell you something. Look at that. He's not only showing the guitar, he's showing the guns, man. Oh, Bonanno. He's got the 22 pistol going on, but that's all right. So tonight, man, we are talking about Rosies and Rockies, man, and we're going to hear some stories. We're going to talk about experiences. The goal of this is to really talk about those differences and similarities of hunting those two subspecies because, again, we hunt Rockies. We know what to do with our elk in our area, and I think it's a really important point to make that, I've had people say that it's different in different regions. Now, as far as terrain, yeah, heck yeah. I would say weather conditions, absolutely, man. But I really, truly believe in, now when we talk about Rockies, I'm all over the place. I think elk are pretty much elk. And I think that's why a lot of people listen to what we talk about because elk are elk. Now, in talking to people that hunt those Rocky Elk Woods, man, those Die-Hard Rosie hunters like Tony here, I think they know some things about those critters that give them an advantage. Like if I was to show up in your woods, Tony, I have a skill set, right? I have a skill set. I have a knowledge, but I think that there's still going to be a learning curve because there's some things that you know about those critters as compared to those Rockies that give you an advantage in your Elkwood. So let me ask you, I'm going to just come out, man. Give us the secret, Tony. Is there a difference? Do you hunt them differently? And what would you say, first of all, is the biggest difference?
You know, a lot of this country over here is we scout a lot, okay? We scout a lot. We know where the elk are going year after year after year. But, you know, unlike some of the national forests where they don't log anymore, we've got so many timber companies that log here all the time. So you might have the greatest spot for 3 years in a row. And all of a sudden you go in on year number 4 and you go,
It's wrecked. Yeah.
okay, now we're backtracking. Where are the elk going to go this year because that timber patch is cut? That's a very common thing here.
Because what? Now say that again. Because what happened in that 4th year?
The timber patch gets cut.
Yeah, they logged it.
Yeah, they logged it.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So there's so much logging that goes around here in the Northwest. And they'll change their habits, obviously, because they don't have that big dark timber to go to anymore when it gets hot. Big bulls love to push their cows into big timber. Now, that being said, there's tons of second growth and reprod around here that's really, really thick. And they'll go in there and they'll bed down during the day because it's cool. And there's no way you can sling a stick through there. So it's all based, for me anyway, it's based on where I think they're going to come out, where they're going to feed, where there's water, and how you set up. Because even in the places that are really brushy, if you set up, you know, knowing where your lane's at or knowing where there's a swamp at that's got a little opening, you're going to try and call them into that swamp, right? Or, you know, clear cuts. I mean, they're in the clear cuts a lot, and it's not easy to call elk to you in a clear cut because you got nothing to hide behind, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So basically, you know, I don't feel like it's a secret for me. I just feel like it's what I know best. And it's how to present myself to an elk, how I want it to come in. And if it doesn't come in, which that's another thing, the wind here on the coast is horrible. You'd think living 10 miles from the saltwater or hunting 10 miles from the saltwater, the wind would be constant coming from the west because we're on the west coast. No, it'll turn and it'll go the other way. And those elk know. They'll be in spots where they know that they can smell you coming. And so,
And from any direction, they know where the swirly winds are, I guess.
So far I've heard a lot of similarities here in that, you know, I don't think there's any difference. I think elk are number one masters at thermals. Now, you talked about wind, Tony. How much because from what I hear, you guys are pretty warm over there a lot of times, even early mornings and late afternoons. Or is there that cooling where you do get the thermal effect as well?
we kind of, I guess you'd call it a thermal effect. I mean, we get the fog a lot. So you'll get that marine layer that pushes in off of the ocean, which is very common on the coast, because it'll push in, you know, up to 30 miles some days. And typically on those days, it's fairly constant. But the tides are another thing. The tides will affect the way that the wind is too. And a lot of people don't understand that either. I mean, when you're this close to, you know, Roosevelt country, most people are dealing with those effects.
What's your altitude that you're hunting at most of the time, Tony?
Oh man, here on the coast, it's about 200-300 feet.
Oh wow!
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's 200-300 feet, but man, I've seen some of that country you go up and down in. I mean, there's some steep country you guys go up and down in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, we typically hunt about. It depends on years where there's fire danger. The local timber companies will shut down, and then that puts you into national forest. And as soon as you get into the national forest, you're in the mountains. Like the Olympic Mountain Range is a nasty. We can get up to about 22, 25, something like that, 2,500 in it. And that's where you're seeing some of that stuff, Joe, where it's rocky and it's got big old growth timber in it. And it's stuff that
And
They don't-
my Flatlander longs will do way better in that.
Yeah, no doubt. Denise and I are thinking my fat body can motivate in that kind of scenario. You know, we're up at 10,000 feet, and somebody sucked all the air up there before we got there. There's no oxygen at 10,000 feet, Tony.
Yeah, but bro, you're gonna be needing the man pond over there because you'd be sweating your butt off. in that-
Hey, no doubt. I mean, so is it pretty humid too?
It's sultry.
Yeah.
It really is. And matter of fact, one of the differences, I wasn't acclimated to chasing Rockies when I killed my first one, and I shot it at 6,800 feet in Oregon.
Yeah.
And we were quartering it up in the heat. I don't know. I almost passed out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Nothing left. So, you're right in those aspects of, altitude changes and stuff like that. It not only affects our bodies a lot.
Now, I got a quick question, and I'm backing up a little bit more. So we might have taken for granted that the actual physical differences between the two subspecies. What are we talking about? The Rockies are bigger animals, body wise, smaller animals.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about antlers and collars, and what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, the Roosevelt's bodies are substantially bigger, with the exception a couple of our premier draw units in the state burned up years ago for Rockies, and the feed is unbelievable in it, and the age is another thing, because since it became a draw unit, those elk, got a chance to get bigger. And that's for just a small, for instance, I shot a bull in 2014 or 15. There was a 350 bull, really good bull, Rocky Mountain bull. And to me, it was a giant. And I'd shot 2 or 3 Rockies up to that point. But the first ones that I went up on, they were smaller 6 points, where they looked like our raghorn bulls here, meaning like a 2.5, 3.5-year-old bull here. And then when I shot the following year, I shot a really good bull, Coastal Rosie, that ended up being actually the #1 archery bull in Washington.
Oh, wow.
The body in that bull was pushing between 900 and 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
And that's a dead bull laying there, guts, feathers, and all. But
and what was the date of that hunt, Tony?
I killed that bull on the 22nd of September here in Washington. And the Rocky Mountain bull that I killed the year before was on about the 15th.
Yeah, because I want you to consider that, because I know that, man, from early September until about October 1st, the Rockies, now I'm not sure. See, here's one of those differences. I mean, we talk about the similarities, and in the similarities that we've talking about, I hear you talking about how when they get in the open areas, it's going to be hard to get them because there's nothing to get behind. They're going to expect to see you. They're visual animals, right? They're going to use the thermals the same way in your hills and in your areas. They're going to find those places so that they are working, not thermals, yes, but it seems to me, and I'd really like to wrap my head around y'all's thermals. I'd really like to experience that, because it seems like it's more wind than thermals, especially the way the humidity, because you got heavy air, man. I mean,
it sinks.
Yeah, you got heavy air there. So wind is like really critical there, and it seems like they know the best places to catch the breezes where they're going in there. But now, I mean, when you talk about body size, I know that for the Rockies, from that early September until about that October 1st, October 10th, and they lose about 200 pounds of body weight, man. I mean, you'll get a 700-pound bull that'll come down to a 500-pound bull, man. But here's the thing, and here's a great part of the discussion is Rockies move, man. I mean, they cover country. They're going from one ridge to one mountain. I mean, they do a lot of circle, a lot of pushing. Yeah, they put the miles in daily, where I have heard, Tony, and this is where I want to, get these things, that the Rosies are not they don't roam as much, that they're a little bit more territorial. In fact, they're a little bit more protective over their territory. And it could be because what you call dark timber, I call jungle, man, from what I've seen over there. It's like that old forest. I mean, it's old forest, jungle, beautiful stuff, man. It's like you're going back in time to something that you see in
the rainforest.
Is that true? Are they more territorial? Do they more stay, or do they still roam a lot?
During the rut, I mean, a lot of these bulls will take off, and just like probably over there hunting Rockies, they'll go off into their little spots in the winter where they might be 10, 15 miles away from where they rut, correct?
Huh.
Or further, obviously. I mean, even on their winter ranges, your guys' out go to winter ranges. There's not much of a winter range here where I live.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, they're pretty territorial, but I think a lot of it is there's a lot of different herds around here that'll be just a drainage and a drainage and a drainage and a drainage away, right? Which is only a mile or two. And you know how that goes. They're there in 20 minutes.
Oh man,
So
absolutely.
if they breed all the cows in one drainage, or they run out of estrus cows and they take off to the next drainage, all of a sudden you see one day in one spot, and you go back there to try and kill him, and then you're like, where did he go? Well, guess what? He just went over the hill. So
How many cows does a typical bull there keep?
Probably average is about a dozen.
Yeah, see, that's a big difference there, right there, because
Big.
yeah.
Well, we will get into bunches that got 20, 25, and it just depends on the area. It depends on the pressure. And obviously the logging. The logging is just a killer thing, In the fields now, in the farm fields, they'll be 25, 30 sometimes.
Yeah.
But you go out and you start hunting them in the clear cuts on the timber company land, and they're not as many, I guess.
Right.
At one time.
Right.
Are the Rosies? I won't say easy to call, because none of them are easy to call. But do they respond to calling as well as the Rockies?
That's a funny question. It comes up a lot. There's a certain time here, sometimes between September 1st and about the 10th, where these elk are it's like they're just talking to each other. They don't want to come to a call. They're just letting each other know where they're at, right? And then I've also been over on the east side, where it's the same thing at that time. But then there's other times where they come in on a string. Either a Rocky or a Roosevelt. It's just timing, and I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes it's the 5th of September here, and everybody goes, they're rutting like crazy. And then the next year, they ain't doing anything till the 12th of September, And then that's another thing that's hard to base your hunting trip out of state on. Do you want to hunt the first week here this year, or do you want to hunt in another state?
Do y'all use the equinox for the Rosies as well?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, and rain, it's like turkey hunting sometimes. Sometimes the rain will shut them up, and you won't hear a bugle all day. And then it'll rain another day, and they'll scream, and you're like, what is it? What's falling from the sky that's making them shut up and speak?
Would you say the Rosies are less talkative than the Rockies, or vice versa?
I would say that's correct. I would say they're a little bit less. I mean, and
so for you guys, do y'all really concentrate more on, as we know, elk are slaves to their bellies. Do you mostly concentrate on the food and water areas and the transitions in between?
They're breaking the canopy, man. That's why those cuts are so huge over there.
But I mean, that's they got a full year of growing season too. They grow in grass, and elk are grazers, man. They'd rather graze than browse.
Now, the one question I would have though is like, okay, so we're talking about how talkative they are, and how they concentrate on their feed, but are we talking the variability in their speech comes from comparing two different years during the same period of time? Meaning, obviously the way that the Rosies talk depends on the time of the year.
Look, I'm just going to say, I think the same thing happens. I don't care what elk it is. And I hear it. So many
That's
people
what I mean.
say, yeah, people are like, well, they're not talking. And yet you go over into two drainages over where somebody's
Got a
over
hot
there.
cow.
Yeah, they have a hot cow and they're blowing up, man. And I don't think it really has a whole lot to do with a lot of things other than that cow coming in heat. And, I don't, that's the thing. I know that there's certain forces here. You got a difference between young cows and old cows. So you got age groups. Young cows are going to be all over the place with their estrus. And those older cows going to be more rhythmic in it. So it could be the age class from one year to another year. I don't know how many cows are taken in Washington there, how many are hunted, but a lot of times I think that even affects the age class, which affects the rut because certain cows are not coming in heat. And, Chav and I have killed bulls on September 1st, September 2nd, September 4th at the beginning with bulls going nuts because a cow came in heat early. You know what I mean? So, I do you guys hunt a lot of cows over there, Tony?
I mean, yeah, it's basically you go where the cows are, just like deer hunting where you go where the does are. But it's funny that you mentioned that, Joe. There's a couple of herds of elk that got one of our bigger herds that we hunt's got, I don't know, say 25 or 30 head in it. And during September, the first 3 weeks, every year, there's never been a mature bull there for the last 4 years. And the funny part about that late cycle is during muzzleloading season, one unit that I live close to is open for muzzleloader. The other side of the road isn't. And a herd bull has gone in there on about the 5th of October with all those cows. So they're either they're not coming into heat early, and those little raghorns are running around with them just thinking it's going to happen.
Right.
That herd bull knows to not get in there until the 1st of October. So,
right.
And it might be the age. You might be right about that. Or, when they were bred years ago, whatever that cycle is. It's a tough one.
Yeah, and it happens with us all the time. They'll be like once every 3 years or once every 4 years, you'll have certain times of years that just blow up. And then you have other times that, you take this last year, for example. You heard all the way around the West, Tony, all over the West. Everybody was like, man, the elk just came in late this year. They were just quiet, they weren't talking out there. Now, I heard that from a lot of people, but I mean, we're September, me and Gilbert are on elk on September 6th, September 7th that we're talking. Now, they weren't screaming necessarily, but you had to be in the brush with them. But then, man, by September 9th, man, I mean, we had bulls that were 8th, 9th, they were going crazy. So
in herds of 150 plus head.
100, yeah. Oh, yeah. Monado has video of a herd that he followed that's, probably 250, 300 head.
Oh, yeah, at least. And Tony, I have a question. How busy is the area as far as hunters? Is that a public hunting area?
Yeah, it's a general tag, general archery here in the coast. Most of Washington actually is. I mean, there's only a few good draw in Washington, but yeah, it's very populated, which makes it tough too. I mean, that changes the rut a little bit too, where they're just pushing and pushing and pushing from one spot to another, and they never get comfortable.
Yeah, they're big adapting to pressure. I think we've seen that in our areas too, man. Those elk adapt to that pressure, and they're very much students of the game. And when you put that pressure on them, it affects their habitual nature, and they're going to change a few things of what they do so they're not in that danger. Tony, one of the big things I was going to ask you is, y'all in wolf country?
No wolves here on the coast. A lot of cougars.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because north of you has you take a look at Victoria Island. I think it has like the highest density of cougars anywhere in the North America.
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse here. But as far as the wolves, they're on the east side of the mountains, a few hundred miles away, and we haven't had any recorded wolf sightings in western Washington.
Cool.
People will always say they saw a large coyote or something like that, but they're no.
Y'all have black bears?
Lots of black bears.
They're rough on elk herd, man. They're actually, our friend and wildlife biologist there in New Mexico we've had on the show, he stated that they're the number one killer of elk calves is black bears.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're terror on the calves, man. But and we're gonna hold the hunting style strategies and calling here for a little bit, because there's still some other things. Because for us, like for example, Tony, when I hunt in tennis shoes. Sometimes I'll wear some waterproof biker socks under there, because in here in New Mexico, we might get some damp mornings from dew. We might have some 10, 15-minute storms blow through like that.
I get 6 inches of snow too, Joe.
Or we get one time in 40 years, bro, 6 inches of snow, man. So, but
my second year hunting with Carl Gamage, it snowed on us up there, Joe.
Oh, it was like one night. Yeah, it wasn't even. I mean, it was nothing like what we had to do.
Yeah, and we had a cabin to sleep in.
But when I think of what we have to deal with condition-wise, as far as weather conditions with our gear and equipment, like I don't like hunting in rain gear, man. I have a feeling if you hunt in Washington or Oregon, you got to get used to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
MT50 comes into play.
Yeah, that's the hard part about if you do wear rain gear around here. You're in the brush so much hunting these things, and it's so noisy. Mm-hmm. I would take a wet fleece day any day. I mean, a lot of my buddies that have come and hunt with me, they're like, "You don't have rain gear?" And I'm like, "No way."
Manana will feel right at home hunting up there with
the shower curtain on.
Yeah.
I have a really light Sitka pullover that I'll pack if it gets really, really bad. But my dad killed his bull last year in just a giant rainstorm, and it was so slick as we were trying to quarter it up that it kind of got scary with knives. Where my dad's, he's older and a little fumblier, and I was like, just let me take over, because I kept thinking he was going to slip and fall right on it. I mean, this country is, but you could throw on a rain gear, if you were headed back in to recover one or something like that. But as far as hunting one, it's really tough here.
So, your temperature, what is your like I got caught in a rainstorm in Florida, and I'm from the East Coast, and the rainstorms and rain over on the East Coast versus rain in New Mexico. Yeah, I mean, I get rained on here, and that temperature drops, man, and that's, you start seeing your breath and stuff like that. You can get chilled to the bone real quick down here. But is the temperature different, or do you get chilled and stuff with your conditions?
Not usually here in archery season. The first 3 weeks of September, we get a 2-week season here, and it changes every 3 years. They'll adjust it. It'll like the 1st through the 12th, or the 12th through the 24th, and But as far as the rain, I mean, it'll rain and be 60. It'll be sultry and you'll sweat like crazy. But going up in the high country, if that season goes a little bit later into like the year that it was that it ended on the 23rd, it can get cold up there. It'll be 40s in rain, which you're seeing your breath.
So merino wool is pretty solid over there then, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So what about your gear, man? I mean, you think about all that moisture, and it's hard enough in our country to walk through without getting a whole bunch of crap stuck in your limbs and your cams and stuff like that. And then you add to it all the moisture you guys are dealing with. Does that bring anything special to the table?
It's just year after year the same thing. We just know how wet we're going to get, and everybody just wings it. I mean,
imagine a good wax on your string and stuff like that helps a lot.
Yeah, we don't have any fancy outfits or anything. I mean, I've killed more stuff in Walmart gear than I swear to God. I've robbed that Walmart half price rack every year at the end of the season, and just it's just you just thrash things around here. You know, you want to wear bino buddies if you got binoculars because you'll scratch the hell out of your lenses. It's just constantly going through brush.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question for you. I don't know if you can see this, but is that pretty much what the landscape looks like? This is,
Yes, it is.
But looks like
Thanks, bud.
it looks like you're in a clear cut, an old clear cut. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It is, and it almost looks like fur as you look back there in those rolling hills. It's just, it's thick. Matter of fact, we were shed hunting last weekend in that same country right there, and we got soaked again, and the wind blew. And there you go again, just wet.
Wow.
Matter of fact, we put our waders on and crossed a stream to get to where we were shed hunting, and we hunted for about 4 hours and got so wet that when we came back to put our waders on, we threw them over our backs and crossed in our boots. We were that wet.
Ooh, Lord.
Well, see, and that's another thing. Here out west, and it was all everywhere last year. It was so dry that water becomes something that is, that's an asset, man. That's a feature. That's something that's going to help you. It's going to concentrate animals. Do you get that same luxury, or do you have to? It's just not going to matter?
That's a good point. The best years to hunt around here, for me personally, are drought years.
God bet
because
you.
I feel like I know every little nook and cranny where there's water in the crap times. And I'll target those areas way more than I would on a year where we got a bunch of rain.
Yeah.
And that's actually, some of the places are so brushy, and places, let's just say, for instance, the National Forest land, they don't clear cut it. So if you're gonna put trail cams and stuff up there, that's your only way of scouting. You can't find a bull because it's all timber for miles, right? So obviously you base the water and your camera around that water, and that's how you do your scouting.
Gotcha.
And those bulls in that bigger country, for years, they would not come in on that camera until after the 15th of September. And that's how I killed the big one that one year. But he wasn't on the camera. He just didn't show up until, those last couple days of our hunt.
So when Tony Wintrip shows up to those hills that are just friggin' covered like that, I mean, it doesn't do you any good to have any binos, man. So when you're there, what is your process in your head? Because we all know finding elk's half the battle of killing an elk, right? So when you show up in that big country right there, what are your key things that are going through your head? And I don't know how to explain it, because sometimes after you've hunted elk so long, you just know what elky country is, man, right? You just know where to go, where to be, where to smell them out. What are you looking for when you show up in that country?
Cut and trap. I mean, that's a huge thing here. Even if they don't answer when you're bugling into these biggest canyons, you're trying to find those old trails that they've always used. And the old saying, never leave elk to find elk. You're constantly cruising those places. And once you find the tracks in the direction they're going, then I go back to, okay, the years past, they went to the next drainage. They went to the next drainage. So I'll get into there on the highest point and bugle into there. You try not to over bugle, but there's times where, a bull's bedded and he's lazy and he doesn't want to bugle back. But if you pitch him 3 or 4, sometimes he finally says, okay, and he lets you have one, and then, okay, so I know they're in there. And then you can base your hunt however you want to do it at that point. But that's the other thing. There's the places that they're going to feed. When you look at that country, you're like, it could be anywhere. Mm-hmm. So those tracks tell it all to me. I'll drive around, I'll hit old spur roads, I'll climb ridge tops, to pitch into those bigger canyons. And that's how I do that there.
So are you pretty much finding those animals in the same places year after year, Tony?
Most of them, yeah. Yep. And with the exception of a year that either a bear or a cougar had killed an elk in one of the places that I always hunted, right, they never came back.
Right.
And I trail cammed it forever. And then I went in there to pull the camera and I smelled it. And me and a buddy of mine, and you know, we had damn near pistols drawn like, oh, this ain't going to be good. Because there are some giant bears in the
Oh, you should take Chav with you on one of those, man. He'll help you out with those bears.
All right, Chav.
Yeah, he can teach you. He can tell the bear how to get the hell out.
Oh bear, hey
Tell the
bear.
bear how to get the hell out. That's why. That's why I don't buy a bear tag anymore, Tony. Because the bear let us go. So he got a pass from Big O. Now on. Yeah. Earned my respect because he could have eaten us that day on the mountain. He had no problem. He might have been full from that elk carcass that he was at, but at the end of the day, he decided to let Big O and Chav move on. So he gets a pass from me.
But I'm going to take you back to that same question I asked you, Tony, is that because I believe that happened again. I think that's similarities right there. It seems like you find those critters in the same places year after year. And people say that bulls like to rut their cows in the same place year after year, when actually it's cows like to be feeding in those same places year after year. And the bulls are going to go where the cows do, you know? But so when you say that you're finding those in the same places year after year, why do you think that is in those places? Has there been something that clicked that's gone like, that's it, man, that's why they're here?
Usually water. Usually it's always water, and the age and the quality of those elk in those places.
What do you mean by that?
And I think it's just like a dominance thing, and that almost makes me feel like at times when they get pressured, those dominant bulls will push those cows into those hidey hole places that I have confidence of finding them. So, and yeah, I really feel like that's what does that a lot, you know. But out here in the clear cut country and the smaller timberlands, they're usually within a mile or two. I mean, there's just no big getaways over here. You know, there's no lost valleys that you can get 7-8 miles in on a trailhead on there's no place like that here. So
they're not climbing 3,000 feet to the top of a ridge to bed down, you know, on a high ridge, or 4,000 feet, wherever it may be. No, it makes sense. They're hiding in these little coulees and areas where, you know, like you said, they can get the wind on you if you're approaching at any time. They understand where to be during that. And I imagine the wind sets that up for them and for you too, on how you plan your plan of attack in those areas, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because about how many satellites do you feel like you usually have around a herd bull with cows?
Yeah, that's the best question ever. Typically, you'll have, it could be up to 3, but you know, you're typically 1 to 2, and as a lot of setups, typically they're the first ones to come in.
Right.
So I learned a valuable lesson twice over calling in satellite bulls. I actually watched 3 come in, which my brother ended up killing one. He didn't have a lot of time to hunt one year, and we were trying to call this herd bull in, and he was bugling, and then we could see him at about, I don't know, maybe 120 yards out in commercial thin, and he kept running around the outside of his herd chasing these 3 satellite bulls. So I was like, oh crap, you know, he's chasing those satellite bulls. So I switched to a cow call, and those 3 satellite bulls came running right in.
Yeah, buddy.
They run right in like Jake turkeys.
Yeah,
they
buddy.
Run right? And my brother's, I'm like, go ahead. And so he slings one at like 12 yards. So he turned around and they ran right back down to the direction of where that herd bull was with those cows. And here he come again. He come right after him again, trying to chase him away. And so after my brother's bull expired, I said, hold the camera. I'm going to go kill that herd bull. It just
hold my beer.
I bypassed the body of my brother's bull, and I bugled one time at that bull, and he thought it was those satellite bulls coming back again, and he charged right over to me, and I shot him at 42 yards. But had I not got to see that scenario where those satellite bulls had heckled and heckled and heckled him enough that once I, tried to tell him that I was coming back to try and get some cows, and I sounded small. Yeah, that's the big thing in this country. You don't want to sound big. Right. And I just give him a lazy man bugle, and here he come. Like, really, again, you guys are going to try and steal my cows again? And then it was over.
That's too cool.
And
how
that's
many cows did that bull have, Tony?
That one probably had 15.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he probably had 15, but he was in a content spot. Commercial thin is, one of the logging practices that they do over here, where they thin out the trees and they really they get a bunch of sunlight in there, obviously, to make the tree grow bigger, so they're not all choked out, by all the other ones. And it also creates shooting lanes and better visibility. Right. And they feel comfortable in there, that they're still in some cover. So it is a really effective way of killing elk here if you can hunt commercial thin.
So it's both because of the break in the canopy. You've got a little bit more feed there, plus they feel it's kind of almost like an aspen transition area that that we think about, or any places where you have trees that are a little bit thinned out, where there's going to be a little bit better grass, but yet the animals still have some cover and feel a little bit more secure in there. And so that gives you that type of opportunity, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So on those types of units, there are, with those, because I don't, I hear about you guys' lumber companies. Is that like an open gate type thing? Is that like a pay to play type thing? How does that work?
There's a couple of different companies here, and a couple of them you have to buy a permit, which usually costs about $250 to $300, and it's good for a year, and it allows you drive-in access. And then some of the other ones are walk-in only. So you got the best of both worlds if you want to put on a walk-in behind a gate, 4 or 5 miles. Typically, you're going to see people there, because it's gotten really popular. People have gotten in better shape that want to hunt farther. And then, in the drive-in ground, you could be chasing Doug Fluties around all day.
Hey man, look, man, we like Doug Fluties, man. I'm telling you, because and look, we have a philosophy with that whole thing, man. We always check out everything, and you can tell. I mean, there's certain things that happen, and you got, it's quiet. You can tell different types of bugles. Cow calls are a lot harder to tell, and there's not many guys that do a whole lot of that. Most people are cranking on that bugle and stuff, but I've heard so many crappy bulls, Rockies, man, that they just sound horrible. I mean, do you have the same thing with the Rosies, man? I mean, they've been screaming all night, so they got that laryngitis the next day, or they're just they got the worst bugle in the doggone woods.
Oh yeah, they'll be. You can get some raspy ones, or you can get the typical, 2.5, 3-year-old bulls. I mean, they sound so much the same, but all of a sudden you'll get a bull that just chuckles.
Right.
And that chuckle, to me, I can really distinguish people's chuckles versus a bull's chuckle.
Oh, that's the one telltale sign right there. Because I've had buddies of mine, I won't mention any names. I was like, man, you sound really good, but don't chuckle.
That'll be me.
It happens.
Yeah, no, but I'll tell you what, really, the truth is that, and I've said it in our video, is that Joe is actually super jealous of my chuckles.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
Had chuckle offs with bulls.
Well, and I've also heard that, and it happens here, early season. We're going to talk about some of these strategies and focuses on different times of years, target animals as well. But early season for us, a lot of bulls, that's all they want to do is they just want to chuckle, man. They're not doing it's that passive. It's not aggressive, man. It's
they
just,
sound like monkeys in the woods.
Yeah.
Man. It's crazy.
And
like
I've heard,
bunch of gorillas out there.
The Rosies will do a lot of chuckling sometimes instead of bugling. Grinders tuning in, thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Podcast. Our goal is to share our knowledge and help you flatten that learning curve so that you too can have some of the very same incredible experiences that have given all of us here at ElkBros a lifetime of memories. If you like what you hear or see, you can get all of this information plus so much more from our Base Camp Elk Hunting Training Camp, the first in a series of online courses from our Blue Collar Elk Academy. Our Base Camp Training Camp allows me to use my coaching style and share almost 40 years of elk hunting experiences successfully hunting elk on public lands, as well as over 20 years guiding hunters of all ages and experience levels. This course will be like nothing you have ever experienced in concept and structure, using success-based coaching techniques that will elevate your confidence and skill sets. Our camp will prepare you specifically from that final moment most in your control, those final minutes or seconds the elk is in front of you, backwards through each step and level, allowing you to see, visualize, understand, and relate every coaching point to what lies ahead, the next step, the next thought process, the next success. Because y'all, you've already been there. You know what it looks like. By tapping my 30 years of teaching and coaching experience, our camps are developed considering multiple learning modes with text, visuals, audio, as well as video. And Base Camp will benefit those new to elk hunting all the way to the 10 to 15 year vet. So if you are looking for that one thing to help you fill that tag this year, invest in the most important piece of equipment there is, you and your elk hunting knowledge. You can find the Blue Collar Elk Hunting Academy and the Base Camp Training Camp at ElkBros.com. That's ElkBros.com. Keep dreaming of the screaming, believing in achieving, and most of all, keep grinding.
Yep. A lot of the time, that's all they'll do. Yep. And when they do a full bugle, it's about 3 pitches without a chuckle at the end.
Yep.
You know, it's one of the other. But man, when you get those big mature bulls, deep, growly, just like
I love them growler bulls.
Rocky bulls, age, man, and that age really signifies that, you know, big, robust bugle.
Mm-hmm.
But would you say it's harder to kill a Rosie than it is a Rocky, or are you just so tuned into your Rosies that's not the case for you?
Gosh, you know, I went to Oregon last year and I made the mistake of going on the first weekend of September because we got a Labor Day weekend in there, you know, and got an extra days, whatever. And those bulls chatted, but they wouldn't come in, and it was 7 days of frustration, you know. And then, of course, we come back here, and because the season started a little later, and we killed 3 of them in 5 days, Rosies.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that could have been just timing, you know. I'd almost wish that I would have went back hunting those Rockies after about the 12th through the 20th or something, versus being there on the 1st through the 7th. And I think
when you walk into the Elk Woods, Tony, every year there in Washington, how do you feel about your opportunities? How do you feel it's going to? Are you going to kill an elk? Is that how you feel, or?
Absolutely. Oh, yep. No failure. I mean, it's 100% confidence from the time I get out of the rig, knowing I've got 12 or 13 days to make it happen, and I'm just waiting for that, you know, God's final day for me to make it happen. You know, you got to go through all the ups and downs and the ones that got away, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's all over in 15 seconds, right?
So in your experience, Tony, which one do you believe is the tougher to hunt, the Rockies or the Rosies?
I guess it would depend on the class of bull a person wanted to kill, because I think that the raghorn bulls around here are pretty easy to kill. Legal bulls, 3-pointer or better. It's got to be a 3-pointer or better.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I firmly believe they're easier to kill because
they're a little dumber.
I've done it for 21 years, and I've got them patterned so well that my confidence level's through the roof.
Gotcha.
Now, when I go chasing Rockies, I don't have as much experience, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have that fluid playground that I have here, that I know every creek and, you know, where they're going to go. I don't have it when I go out of state. I'm always playing catch up. But, and that goes for, even when you get one bugling over there, you know, just say, you feel like, okay, we're going to make this happen. And then, as we all know, you know, many blow and saves, right? Then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap.
So if you hunt for 10 days on a Rocky hunt, how many opportunities do you think you'll manufacture versus a 10-day hunt for Rosies?
I would say between 3 and 5.
Okay.
Yep. And that being, you know, shooting range.
Yes, sir.
You know, because there's so many days where it doesn't happen, right? And especially hunting big country, you're gassed. You might only spend 4 or 5 days in that big country and go, I can't do this anymore today.
Were you that 3 to 5? Was that Rockies or was that Rosies you were talking about?
Rockies.
And what about Rosies? How many opportunities?
7 or 8.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's due to, number one, your range that you're hunting, right? And when I talk about range, the land, you know, the the backdrop that you're hunting a setting that for the Rockies that are just much more diverse than what you've got there for the Rosies, right?
So
yeah, the population is another big one. If you've got so many elk per square mile here versus going to hunt a range in Oregon or Idaho that doesn't have as many, you know, that frequent the same circle, our odds are better here for that.
Man, he sure has made, you know, people, I've heard a lot of people talk down Washington, man, but we're just going to keep saying Washington's not a good state to hunt elk.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Maybe I should have said 1 or 2.
Tony, for out of state, now I'm gonna ask a dumb question, but for out of state guys, do they have to draw or can they buy over the counter tags?
They can buy over the counter general tags here.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And there's a lot of units, but here's the other downfall is the permits that you got to buy to access the places that have a lot of the populations.
Right.
They put those out and they're limited quota, right? And they'll sell out in 2 or 3 minutes sometimes.
Wow.
So if you're trying to plan a hunt from out of state and you're going to come and hunt Washington and you don't get one of those, and then there's a fire danger where they close down all the timberlands, everybody is on the national forest land. It's the only thing left. So then you got a party for 50. I mean, it's just camps on every corner.
I think a huge point that kind of got glossed over a little bit, and I want to make sure that it's out there, is that I think a person's success percentages raise enormously with knowledge of an area.
I agree, Jay.
Yeah. Scouting.
Yeah, and I mean, you hunt,
longevity, how long you've been there doing it.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think you can go.
We're beneficial because of the ninjas that we got that are on the ground for the last 40 years up there. I mean, Mr. Chavez and Joe. I mean, they've been in that country for so long. These guys. Oh, we got this kind of wind blowing. Oh, well, we know where to go. You know, it's just like you said, knowing your country, huh, Joe?
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, you know, one of the techniques that Chav and I use for years, and we use them, and we did that with Luis when Luis got his animal, is that, you know, we hunt scout, man. And sometimes it's divide and conquer. In fact, I recommend if you hunt in a group, man, and you're hunting someplace new, especially with the tools that we have with you know, base map and Onyx and those types of things, man, where you can do tracks and where you can throw things down and waypoints. Man, if you have 5 guys like what we have, man, you get out there and, man, you just start hitting country in different ways and everybody reports back and you can map out and have a great picture of some things that are happening in that country. And I think Tony's, you know, Tony, how many elk have you killed in the last 21 years?
23, 24.
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, brother.
Like I told you,
Yeah,
man.
that's
I
a-
mean, yeah, he's holding a guitar in his hand, but that dude, man, he can play a bow
killer.
like you wouldn't believe, right?
So cool.
So
I got to tell you, my favorite mistake that I ever made was, we were talking something like that. Favorite mistakes.
Yeah.
I had killed the 2 biggest bulls of my life in back-to-back years. And I always told my wife I wanted to head mount one, Well, I got it, and she was excited, and it's 6x7, 350. Yes. So the next year, I killed that bull that was dang near equivalent Roosevelt bull. And when I walked up on it, this is where it gets good. I walked up on it, and I thought, holy hell, that's 325 all the way. And I always wanted to shoot a 300-inch Rosie.
Yeah.
And my brother is like, you got to head mount this. I said, my wife will kill me if I bring it 2 years in a row, right?
Man, Tony, I can tell you about a phone conversation I heard one's up in the mountains. But
So the downer of it is, I told my brother, I'm like, it's going to be a while before we get this bull out. So I like to get the head off of him first. It's really easy to flip him around when you're quartering and caping.
That's right.
So my brother's like, don't do it. Don't do it. I cut the head off.
oh, no.
Didn't cape it. And the second, and this will tell you how big Roosevelt bulls are, because the second that I pulled that head away from that body, I looked at it and I'm like, man, that thing's growing. It's growing. And then every time I looked over at it, and then finally, 6 hours later when we get it to the pickup, my dad looks at it and he's like, oh shit, that's a giant. And then it gets worse.
Yeah.
I take it to him. My taxidermist says, I heard you killed this big bull. Let me see it. And I took it over and he looked at it and he walks up, flicks me on the head. He goes, you're freaking crazy. He goes, that might be the number 1 bull. And you don't have a cape? And I'm like, he just didn't look like, that the Rocky that I killed the year
They're
before.
so big body-wise, man.
What kind of taxidermist you have, man, that won't go, bro, I got a cape?
Well, we got it. We did. Yeah, and it ended up working out good because a friend of mine had drawn one of the Roosevelt tags from around here, and he killed a 5-year-old bull with an amazing cape, and my brother went up and helped him pack it out, and he caped it out. And so now that bull is not mine, it's ours.
It's ours.
Yeah, it's got his cape on it. So, but man, I mean, that was my favorite mistake ever for elk hunting.
Hey, Manano, why don't you tell Tony about a conversation we heard with one of our... Do you remember that conversation?
Which one?
With Beto when after he killed that nice bull?
he wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't there, huh?
No, this was
That was
the
Tucker.
there was the year with
no.
Tucker.
Yeah. Please don't get confused with
Oh,
Tucker.
I'm sorry, man. Hey, you know
The
what,
mad
bro?
Canadian.
I think you've been with us this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. No, Luis can tell you, Tony, my wife's of the same ilk. I mean, I have 41 mounts in my home, okay? And she will not tolerate one more. Okay? And so I kill a freaking, this bull right here behind me is a Pope and Young bull. He's right at 300 inches, not over 300, but that's my first bull, the bull that is a Rocky. And I wanted to kill a 6x6. So at the end of the day, Joe called that bull in for me. If you've heard any of our podcasts, you probably heard that story. But I killed that bull. Chav and I are chasing a herd that had been in front of us all morning, one morning. And anyway, Joe and Luis and my really good friend of mine, Steve Tucker from Canada, were pushing a herd to us, and we didn't even know it. They were dogging them from the backside. We're splitting them off on the front side. And so we're talking about whether I'd shoot a cow or a bull. A cow walks in at 12 yards, and I draw my bow, and she's going to die. Because I'm eating elk meat, man. We hunt public land, and I'm telling you right now, I draw it back, center the little red dot where my other red dot needs to be at 12 yards. I'm like, man, it's slam dunk. And I look up, and there's this giant bull walking in. I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. I let that thing down and man, he just bugles again, walks in at 71 yards. I draw it. I have to shoot through a little window and everything, but it's just like my practice at home. I sent the missile.
It was uphill.
Yeah.
And you had some branches also that you had to kind of just needle it through.
I had to kind of swerve it through there, but we got a little Star Wars effect. It went over the right stuff, under the right stuff. Money, 55 feet up, done, 346. I mean, the biggest bull I ever killed in my life. I mean, and an absolute tank of an animal too. I mean, he was a giant-bodied bull, and so we're sitting on my bull at the convergence. After all of this, we called in 7 or 8 more bulls. Chav actually had a bow blow up on him, and where he couldn't finish the shot. At the end of the day, Joe and them finally converge with us, and me and Chav are actually starting to take this animal apart, and we hear guys walking up, and here comes Joe and them out of the woods, dude.
Yeah, we kept hearing the mule. So Tucker is like, man, I hear a mule going back and forth. What the heck is going on? So we just kind of approached, and all of a sudden,
they're like head to toe covered in blood, man.
just trying to figure out where to start tackling this big animal, and they're like, it's like they saw the light when they saw us. Like, oh my God, thank you.
Because, dude, we're a long way from our bike, okay, and pulling this thing apart between me and Chav is going to be some hellacious work. So Joe and them come rolling in. I'm elated, man. I get really emotional. I'm an emotional guy anyway, real passionate about what we do together. And I got to do it with one of my best friends, Leroy Chavez. It was just an emotional hunt. I'm an emotional dude. So I call my wife, man. I got a signal, right? So I call my wife. I just killed the biggest bull of my life. And she just immediately tears my ass up, boy.
I could hear it. I was like,
she's like, you're not bringing another damn sound. No hoofs, no horns, and no hide. Bring the meat, son, but no hoofs, no horns. No, she's tearing my ass.
Talk about crushing a soul, man. Beto's face went like, baby. Okay, honey.
Sounds familiar to me.
She tore my ass up good, man. And I said, hey, look, Tucker needs to call his wife. He's got a signal. I don't give a damn about Tucker. She said, you're going to listen to me. I better not have another mount. So I did cape the bull. Because, I am a salesman. So I did cape the bull, and I brought the cape home, and I actually decided that I would have the skin, the cape and everything, the whole hide and everything. I caped it from front to back, and the back half I have right here behind me. But the bull actually hangs in one of my really good friends' archery shop here at the Texas Archery. And so they've given me a place to go hang my bulls. When I kill them, I get to take them over there and they can hang them so my wife don't cut my head off or anything else.
That's good. At least you got a spot to hang them.
Got a spot to hang them in the archery shop. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Big O's Corner.
So we're going to get to the part that a lot of people want to hear about is the strategy and the calling, man. Because I've listened to a lot of guys calling Rosies, and it seems to me like what I've heard guys doing that have been doing it for a while and being successful, man, is they'll do like a hard, almost like a bark, man. It's, instead of it being a bark chuckle, it's almost like a bark bugle. It's like, ah! And then go into a real quick bugle, man, just right up hard with it and then come down. And what's your style?
Definitely not that, but I've heard that before. I mean, it seems like it's one of the stigmas of the calling champions. They're using all those different sounds, but I don't do it in the Elk Woods at all. I mean, usually when you hear a bark, to me, it means no bueno, right?
Yeah, it's alarming.
Not good. It means somebody's not happy. Somebody knows something's up. I don't use that bark at all. But as far as
I don't know if it's quite a bark. It's almost, it's almost like when you're going into, you hear people talk about chuckles and I think it's more like a hard chuckle, when you're starting to go into a chuckle sequence, on that than it is a bark. But there's a lot of similarities between that sound, man.
Yeah.
But I've really heard people come out with a high pitched, hard, and then go into a bugle like that. And I didn't know if that was something that you guys have heard with those critters over there, or something that kind of, gets their attention or what. But you don't do any of that.
No, I don't do any of that. I've got a locator bugle that I constantly use. I chuckle a lot, but I really try to mimic, probably like you, mimic what that bull's doing too,
Yeah.
Copycat him a little, or, try to intimidate him a little bit, or try to tell him that I'm a little bit smaller than him, but I'm not afraid of him. And I like to make a lot of noise when I bugle. I mean, there's been so much, different people that say, sneak in there and get as close as you can and then bugle. And it's like, you're going to blow them right off their feet. You want to enter that herd of elk just like another elk. If that's what you're trying to do, you want to sound like another one, right?
Yeah.
Well, those bulls, they don't tiptoe into a herd of 25 and
Absolutely.
rip their head and bugle. They let them know they're coming, or,
Blast the tree open.
I would think in that country, as thick as it is, man, I would be closing in so hard because it's just so thick. I mean, what's your average shooting lane shot distance?
That would depend on whether you're in the timber, reprod, or in the clear cut. Because I shot my bull last year at 88 yards, which is maximum range for me. And the only reason I took the shot was I'd already been to Oregon for 5 days. I was into Washington for 5. I mean, I hadn't pulled the cord yet, and I'd been close a few times. But my bottom pin is 80, and I can shoot my 80 like my 30.
Sure.
So I'm really comfortable with it, and and he was broadside as a barn door. I knew I wasn't going to miss him. It was just whether I was going to miss him by 3 or 4 inches or not. Where I needed him. Anyway, your average shot around here is 40 yards. Yeah, and that's piecing together. A couple of I've shot a
in
bull
the timber or out in the open.
That's an average of both.
Average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Both. I got you.
Yeah, in the commercial thin, you can shoot 60. I've shot bulls at 7. I've shot bulls at 8. I mean, 7-yard shot was something else, man.
Yeah.
And then
There's a lot of
8-yard
similarities
shot.
in that too. Then for between the two different elk, because it's the same thing, and it just depends on what kind of cover. I mean, I talked to guys in Idaho. They're hunting that thick crap where binos don't do any good, and we can get in jack pines, we can get some open areas, we can get some different things that especially you get even in some of that dark timber where nothing grows underneath, and for us, and you can see those animals for a ways off. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities in that, because I've taken animals out to 70 to, I had one at, I don't know, 5 feet, 6 feet that I killed one time. So it's been, yeah.
There's a lot of learning with those close shots, because if you don't draw when they're at 20 and they're not going to stop till they're at 5, you're beat if you don't have your bow back when they see you. and that in this country is it's
Gotta draw.
You gotta draw early. I mean, you gotta, it's not so much reading the language at that point. It's just reading how fast he's coming.
Yeah, because they amazing athletes. They can cover distance really fast.
Yes,
and their gait is so long that they're at 20 yards in 4 steps. 3 steps.
Yep. If they're thumping their way in, you better get drawed quick. It's going to happen.
So let's talk about target animals and like scenario goals, because you talked about early season out there when they're not really talking a whole lot and they're just kind of showing where they're at and stuff like that. You get a lot of animals early season that come in silent, Tony, or they just stay put?
Yeah, it's a 50-50. Most of the time, it seems like they're staying put until that magical day.
Okay. And so at what point, so like if you were having to decide on your target animal when things are starting to happen and you've got a herd bull, are you going to have better opportunities at pulling that herd bull or pulling those 2 satellites that are harassing them?
More than likely the satellites. It's just there seems to be quite a few of them, especially with a 3-pointer better. You'll see herds with 7 or 8 spikes in them every year, and every one of them's a legal bull the next year. It's just who's pushed who off, and who's still hanging around. But
So they have to be 3 points on one side or both sides?
you just have to be 3 points on a side.
Gotcha.
But typically, typically the 2.5-year-old bulls are all 4 points.
So have you ever tried putting on a scenario to get a bull to come into you? Because that's in that kind of country, in that thick type country like that. I'm not hearing where you've had things that have really snuck in on you a lot. And what I mean by scenario is we will do something where we actually sound like a herd bull with his own hot cow and maybe some a satellite or 2 around them to then pull animals into us, basically. Have you ever tried a strategy like that?
Not so much with like calling cows to come in. It's typically if we're in a group, me and my brother and another guy, we'll all 3 be cow calling like we're in a herd. Right. Yeah. And then, just kind of see the reaction of the bull from there. And then if he sounds off, we'll stick with that cow call until he doesn't come in, and then we'll just try to, throw a bugle out there. But if he doesn't come with one, and your opportunity is you're waiting on the wind usually swirls, you got 5 minutes to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things we do here, Tony, is we try to call his cows to us.
Wow.
And when you do that with Rocky, when you do it, all else fails. Now, he's not paying much attention. We're sounding like a satellite bull. Now we're going to try to sound like a big herd bull to call his cows to us, So I don't know have y'all tried any of that with the Rosies, where you just, caution to the wind. Now I'm talking to his cows. And if you can get that lead cow turned and coming to you, guess who's coming with her?
Yeah. Mostly it's, for us, it's, a lot of cow calls, but it's mostly lent towards the bull. We don't,
So being a lover more than a fighter.
Yeah, it's rare that we call in cows over the bull. Typically, it's the attention of that bull, and I've always had this line that says "just elk it," and it's meant for when you get that blown save. You're working a critter, and all of a sudden something ain't right. They're going the other way. Most people will, not most, but a lot, will leave them and let them go off, and try to get on them at in the nighttime, or they'll come back the next day. But if you're in an area with a lot of pressure, you got to make it happen now. So we'll put the calls away, and we'll get on the tracks, and we'll know about what direction they're going, what bench they're going to hold up on and bet on, and we'll sneak in and try to kill them that way.
Yeah.
And that's
I watched Joe this year call in some cows, and I was like, dude, this is sick. He actually sounded like a lost calf, and when he did that on a lost cow, those cows turned and came directly to us, right? So guess who's coming with those cows when you do that? That bull's coming with them, because they're like, well, okay, somebody's lost, or that calf's lost, or whatever it may be, and then a big herd bull bugles behind them. Now it's all confusing. Now that big herd bull's got to come, right? So y'all might try something like that, especially if it's a last-ditch effort on a bad wind or something like that. But I watched Joe do it the last couple of years, and that lost, I don't know if you've ever heard that lost cow call or a lost calf call. It is amazing.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point, because there's oftentimes where we all call an elk, we'll call in a calf.
Yep.
Calf is, a lot of the times, will come wandering like it's lost and it can't find its mom with that high pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
What was that term you used? That was elk it?
Elk it.
Just elk it.
Just elk it.
Like no,
It's like Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
Just elk
Just
it.
elk it.
So what we're going to do here for the last part of this, Tony, before we get into ElkBros mailbox, I'd like to hear from you what you think the biggest mistake is made hunting Rosies for the first time. What do you see as the one thing that really shows that somebody doesn't have experience with Rosies?
Oh, I guess that would be the next step. The first time that you bust a herd of elk because of the wind, or you put too much pressure on them, if they don't, not knowing that next step could be, okay, let's get out around them, right? Some people will keep the wind at their back, not care, and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. There's a time where first-time elk hunters need to realize, which we've all made the mistake, because the temptation is, I gotta go. But if you start thinking ahead and go, I need to get out around these elk, where are they going? That's a big crucial mistake for a lot of them, to just, you can push them into the biggest crap hole ever where they don't come back for 3 or 4 days. But if they're headed to that crap hole for 3 or 4 days, and you take 2 hours out of your time and get out around them,
absolutely,
you're going to increase your odds.
And you know what, dude? There's a absolute another similarity right there, because I tell people, if you have a herd that's going to a destination, either you boogered them or and people think that just because you booger an elk that they've headed to the daggum next camp. Well, they don't have that option everywhere, man. And especially in that thick country, kind of like Kentucky, they're going to go a little bit into that deep stuff where nobody's going to be able to get to them. They're just going to wait, listen, check their back trail, check the scent, and they're just going to stay there for a while until they can relax and know that nothing's on them. But when I tell people, it's the same thing. You've boogered a group and they've got the wind, man, and do not trail behind them. You want to get off to parallel and try to get up, and it's not easy. But that's Luis, it can be done, man. And you parallel those groups and you try to get, like you said, work, and especially in your thick country, but it works with us as well because they want to go to a destination. And if they're not seeing something on their back trail, because I tell you this, that bull might be trailing that herd, but there's always a sentry cow that trails back there too, that will wait, stop, and look over hills, will look over their back trail until that group moves on, and until they know, and they'll turn and they'll follow. It happens all the time. And man, you get that sentry cow from the back come running up there, it just puts them into a jog going up the hill, and you're not going to catch them. That's why you always want to parallel on that side so that you've got the wind coming from the herd to you if possible, so that the thermals are not, if you have a change in thermals, they're not going to go up to that group, and you work like that. And yes, you can make an opportunity out of something that was actually blown. We've done that.
That's a good point. Absolutely. And it also seems like the playing field for calling elk, it's so hard to call them in when they're uphill, bringing them down. They've always got the upper hand on you. You got to get that latitude with them.
That level playing field.
Yes. Because it's so tempting when you got a bull above you and you're bugling, and all of a sudden he comes running down the hill, and he knows the last place that call came from. He's got his head up and he's looking down there like, well, where are you? You just called from that stump and I don't see you. But if you're pulling him at that angle to a ridge top or somewhat of a depression where he's got to come take a peek, you're going to increase your odds there, for us anyway.
So, Manano, you've heard Tony talking about these Roosevelt elk, and you've heard the lessons that, like, we've talked about in our hunts and stuff like that. Have you heard a lot of similarities in some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, our place it's a little bit different. We don't have that particular situation where the timber company goes and locked and this,
yes and no. I mean, there's places that we've had timber cuts. I mean,
we got fired.
Forest fires.
The fires are something that really help us out as far as that, as far as clearing some of that stuff out. Chav, have you heard any similarities that have been noted to you?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that Tony said was that, and this equates to success, is knowing the lay of the land. You know, if they've hunted an area long enough and they know where all the water holes are, you have a general idea of where they're going to head, depending on the drought situation. But and they're scouting. You know, they know the area, and that helps a lot. I think if you're used to one particular area to hunt in, even though it may be a large area, you got several options to go to. You know, plan A, plan B, plan C, and so forth.
Do you guys, question for you guys, do you deal with a lot of bees nests back in your country over there?
We have the ground bees, yes.
Occasionally,
Yeah.
We have those little yellow jackets that'll come attack your meat and everything when you're trying to.
Chav and I and a buddy of ours stepped over a log one time that had a hornet's nest in it, and they chased us for a half mile, man. I mean, and were vicious. They were stinging us the whole time, man. We were just, and it was like, it wasn't like, are you okay? It wasn't like, hey, man, maybe we should go this. It was like, run. Everybody was just running.
Beto, I'm shooting you in the leg, bro.
Yeah. I'm telling you straight up, don't mess with no. Now look, down here in Texas, we got these Africanized bees and everything, and they are bad. They will flat.
Yeah, that's a different
They'll
deal.
run you out of a boat. I've had to jump in the water. You know, I mean, it's crazy.
They will eat you alive.
Landed on our boat in the middle of the ocean, brother. We're in the middle of the ocean, and a queen bee landed on our boat, and they covered that boat like it was something from a beekeeper movie that had bees over everything. It covered the whole boat. We had to get out. Man, till the queen bee. We splashed water up on the side of the boat. Queen got up. We left, and
Hoping the sharks wouldn't be hungry.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm
I
telling
can
you.
see that picture in my mind.
Oh
Betty
my
just
God.
splashing that water in the.
So we jump out into the ocean where sharks live.
Hey, that's what I mean.
Like, what the hell?
Them waters are
Swap the witch
infested
for
with
the devil.
sharks.
We just swapped the witch for the devil, but I'm telling you, I'm really allergic to bee stings and wasp stings.
I'm really allergic to shark bites, bro.
I keep not an EpiPen, but I keep Benadryl in my bag and stuff like that, and an inhaler and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I don't like bees or hornets or none of them things, none of them flying critters.
All right, guys, let's go to our ElkBros mailbox, man. Hey, and Tony, you jump in too, and you're going to see some of these. Some of them are right up your alley. It doesn't matter what you're hunting, and then some of these could be in your type of country where it's happening. You can kind of give an answer to that if you want to. So, Luis, take the first one there.
And so we've got Mr. Joel Adair.
So his first name is Joel.
Joel.
Like
Joel.
Joel. Yeah.
Joel Adair.
Yeah, Joel. Oh, I bet he's going to like that, man.
Joel Adair.
He either gonna like it or he ain't.
Utah.
Santa Quinn, Utah. So last year in Idaho, I was hiking up a mountain when I got to a hanging valley just below the top. I let out a bugle. Nothing happened. I moved further into the valley, got to the edge of an open meadow, let out another bugle, and in 15 seconds, I get a bugle less than 100 yards away. He then bugles again by a couple of short barks. I try to bark back at him, as you guys have said to do. He bugled one more short bugle, then nothing else from him. The time of the day was about 10 a.m. by this point, and the wind was in my favor. I called right into his direction. When I called, then I heard no more response from him. Should I have called behind me or moved back 20 to 30 yards and still called to the other direction? I was hunting by myself. Give this one to Luis to try to pronounce my name. Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. Joel Adair.
And I put more information in here too. The time of year was the second week of September. When he got the bugle, it was from the same side. It wasn't across the park, so it wasn't like he was, trying to pull out into the opening. I asked if it was a bark or a chuckle. And guys, sometimes a hard grunt, can sound like a bark. And that's what I was trying to talk about earlier, that I was going to say, Tony, those guys like to use, they used like a hard grunt with a bugle afterwards. And when I asked what type of response or emotion that he got from the bull, he said it was a raspy, hard bugle, and then it had the barks with it. So what would his question is basically, how should I have handled this? What was going on? Should, he gets there and he told me he's using a bat grunt tube, and he bugles at the bull that's 100 yards away with the bat grunt tube towards him. And he's like, well, should I have moved back 20 or 30 yards?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Why not?
No, because he was 100 yards away. I believe I would have done the same way that he did. Just trying to get a good spot. Wait
Except for you don't know how to bugle or call or anything like
I would
that.
have
Just
Beto,
saying.
Chav, or Joe behind me.
Oh, okay. So you
Look,
got somebody helping you out, like always.
I'm gonna tell you, boys, when that bull barked, that was the end of the game.
That was it. Yeah. But answering his question, he said, "Should I go further?" No, I would have done the same. I mean,
I go immediately to that lost cow call. Immediately to the lost cow call and see if I can get him to overcome his idea of, hey, I want to see another bull right now.
Well, so let's read what's going on with the situation, guys, man. What kind of bull do you think you have, and what do you think what's going on with that bull, man? I mean, when he gives one short bugle, so he goes in,
lover,
he's given there,
satellite type,
and he gets a bugle back from him. Then he gets then the bull bugles again with some short barks. So at 100 yards, he's show yourself, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And then he said that he called into the bull's direction, and he gave
his own bark,
more short bugle, and that was it. And he said that bugle was like a real raspy type bugle. So, and then he didn't hear anything from him when he bugled at him. Now, I'll say number one, I hear nothing about a cow call.
Exactly.
Right? So, when you hear that bull demanding, that bull's not coming, right?
Yeah, right.
Right now, because he's just talking to another bull. And this is what, Luis, we were talking about with you, man.
I'm closing the gap.
Yeah, right now he only knows of that bull there. He has no knowledge of a cow being there, right? And then this guy bugles at him, and with a bat tube, which is going to make that bull not only think he's not 100 yards away, it's going to make him think he's 60 yards.
He may have come in a bit more confrontational, and So I think one of the things that you talk about, Joe, a lot is when you try to paint the picture of ignoring the elk you want to bring in. So just basically concentrating on, kind of put up your own party.
Yeah, man.
And let the guy come check it in. You're not bugling at him. You're bugling at your cows. You kind of work your own deal and give him, I forget the exact word that you use, but it's just like you're ignoring them.
Yeah, man.
So
you sounded like your own little bull with his cows. You start bringing those cows in lost cow situation, and if old bull over here ain't got any cows, guess who he's going to come look at, right? Now that other bull over there might have had some cows.
Well, I would have absolutely tested the water and dipped my toe first with a cow call.
For sure.
Yep. Way before that. And
So the cow call would have come in before his second bugle.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
100%. If I'd have got that answer from my location bugle, dude, I'm going straight to lover.
But look, I can see where some of his confusion can come in, because I can relate, right? I mean, we also say, hey, keep doing what's working. Right. So, I mean, he bugled and he got a response. So that's what's working. So the logic also would be, okay, I'm going to bugle again. So, I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Yep. And you kind of also feel like if he had bugled in the bottom of a draw and then made his way up to the top of the hill, if that bull was just barely over the brink of that hill and you I would have probably walked up there and cow called a couple times before I made my appearance over the descent of that hill.
Absolutely.
He got the red flag from the first bugle, and then when he put the bugle in his face at the bull, that bull's second assessment was, "I'm out of here."
Well, see, what I'm saying though is this bull ain't alone, man. He's got cows.
Cows, 100%. He does.
He barks back at him, and he says he hears one more short bugle and then nothing else. I mean, that dude did a roundup bugle and he was gone.
Out.
Oh,
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, look, it's a great question. It's a tough situation. I mean, it's just it's easy to blow that one up. I mean,
Yeah, but I think Joe makes a great point in once you get that bull, he's inside 100 yards. Once you get him to answer, now you're going to try to love on him a little bit and get him to, okay, now I got a lost cow out here. Now I need to come find her, right? But the minute that bull went to the hard bark, he told you what was up, you know. And if you bark back at him, now it's confrontational, straight up, right?
I'd have barked chuckle. I wouldn't have just barked. I think I'd have barked chuckle back at him and said,
it would probably still run him away, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough situation no matter what, where he's at.
It is.
You know, because you've got a bull that knows that there's another bull close to him. He's got cows and he's like, show yourself. Then he goes ahead and he barks back at him, you know, like that. And the bull all of a sudden goes off with a short bugle, which he's rounding up his cows and he's out of there, man. So,
Joel, just remember, be a lover before a fighter.
Always. Yeah. I would always introduce that cow in there, man. Or I would have even shut up for a while, man. You know,
And Joel, I think it's a great question, and I hope you like the way I pronounce your name, because I know you can't spell mine like Joe. So, you know, Joe never spells my name right, and doesn't look like you're an
man. An S or a Z. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
But I always say it right.
It's not like we've been friends for like 5 years for him to just figure out how to spell my last name, but he's, you know, it's okay. So you get a pass, Joel, because you know, we just met.
Get the ambulance out.
Okay, so Chav, next up.
Okay, next up we have Chris Mckelvie from Santa Rosa, California.
What's up, Chris? Guy who can recognize a leader right there.
And he asked, I'm pulling the trigger on elk this year. I'm almost positive I'm going for a Utah over-the-counter spike tag. The way I read the regs, it's good for a spike or a cow. From what I've heard you guys say, find food and water and use cow calls. If I understand right, the tag is good from August 21st through October 31st, but rifle opens September 1st, so I have to imagine the first 9 days are going to be my best bet. Am I missing anything?
I think it's been listening.
First 9 days?
Well, so he's hunting early season, man. He's hunting, you know, at the time. He needs to get a spike or a cow, right? And the good thing is, Chris, man, the spikes and cows are together at this time, man. I mean,
definitely lots.
Yeah, I mean, the spikes are with mama, aunt, and grandma, and so they're all together. And you know, the food, the water, cow calls, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Spot on.
Yeah,
You got it, buddy.
Yeah,
and when you find them cows, you're going to have those spikes with them. Those spikes are dumb as a bag of hammers, man. Just start sounding like a lost cow, and they coming, dude. They come in there like a gang, you know, like gangbusters.
And the one recommendation I would have, Chris, is like, man, when you're in a setup and trying to call them in, make sure you just don't call anybody on your phone or anything like that, okay? And just kind of, keep the phone in your pocket and don't be calling nobody. That would be my only 2 cents.
And shut your
man. And you know, the thing that
I'm fully loaded today, bro.
The thing you got to realize too, man, is that, you know, you could even use something like what Tony was talking about, where you just want to sound like a small herd, small group, you know, and even so you can use the maternal, or you can use the herd here, and that's where Gilbert was talking about that lost cow, man. You start pulling some of those cows over with a lost cow call, and they really come to that. All right,
Man, best of luck, Chris, man.
Yes, sir.
We certainly believe you can make it happen, brother, and just
We
take
know
some
you
pictures and share it with us. And, we'd love to see videos and pictures of your success this year, man.
Hey, Manano, this last guy's a fan of yours, bud. So why don't you take that one?
Team from British Columbia. When it comes to carrying meat, what type of game bags do you use? How do you carry your meat? Is it inside your packs? Yes. I mean, we use a metal frame backpacks, and they use a metal backpacks. I carry in my shoulders as a strong man. So. Yeah. What was the brand of yours, Luis?
I don't know, but I do recall who carried out your elk last year.
Yeah, I carry yours too. I got a video actually.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna post that video tomorrow in our account. So team's going for you.
So is
What
them
game bags
frame?
do you use?
It's the frame, the frame packs.
It's a hauler pack. Yeah.
It's a hauler pack. So, but we have the luxury that, we don't carry those with us while we're hunting.
Right.
But when we do hunt, we try to get as close as legally possible to the kill with the packs in our ATMs or UTVs or whatever.
I love that.
ATVs and UTVs. And the ATMs are important too, but they don't have them in the woods. So then we take the packs from there to the kill, and then just helps us facilitate the extraction. Let's put it that way.
And we
because
do game bags, cheesecloth game bags.
yes,
I have some nylon ones myself too. So
Mine are washable. They come from Cabela's, and I order them, and mine are washable. We can actually reuse them, and I do. I've washed them and reuse them. So,
but Manano's right too. I mean, there has been instances like with my bull a couple years ago that we were just far from where we could get to a road where the four-wheeler was. And between the three of us, we had to carry the quarters on our backs until we got to the vehicles and stuff like that. So
when we do,
I've been where we didn't have enough freight packs, where we've had to carry quarters or whatever, on our backs out of there. When I killed that raghorn bull that year, me and Chav was a long way away, and we didn't have enough freight packs, but we carry a quarter on our back coming out of there. But we try to use the cheesecloth for the like Joe says, the lomos, the back straps, and neck meat and stuff like that we're gonna get the trimmings off. Tenderloins, get your hands in there and get the tenderloins out.
And sometimes Tim, we don't even skin the skin off, man. If
Right.
we're at a point where it's real quick and we're going to get it there, instead of getting it all dirty with everything, we'll keep the skin on the quarter, and we'll strip it out once we get it there to camp, and we'll be at camp in probably 45 minutes from there. So, but one thing though, Tim, is we really don't put meat inside our packs. I don't want to put any meat in my pack. We'll use a hauler, and we might end up expanding to some of the types of packs where we can, use open it up and put the quarters inside that without putting it in the actual bag. But right now we've been using freighter packs, and it's worked for us. And we buy whatever game bags, nylon bags and stuff are on sale. We haven't really worried about that too much, man. So that's kind of how we do it.
Heck, I got a buddy of mine uses big cotton pillow sheets.
Yeah.
I mean, they use cotton pillow sheets and they bring them home.
Cases,
and they, tie them closed, and they bring them home, wash them, and reuse them.
Just to keep it clean, man. Let it breathe.
Yeah.
Why don't you close this out, Gilbert?
Yeah, man, it's been an amazing night. Always cool to get everybody together and talk about the differences between the two subspecies, Rosies and Rockies. Been so good to have our buddy and Mr. Tony with us tonight. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, rate, and review us. You got to go to Apple Podcast or iTunes to review us, and you can check out more elk hunting content at ElkBros.com. And just a reminder, if you or any of our listeners out there would like your questions answered on our show, just send your questions to info@elkbros.com. That's info@elkbros.com. Tony, we really want to thank you for joining us at Elk Camp tonight.
Appreciate it, man. It was fun. You guys are a hoot. I love it.
We appreciate you being with us. Guys, like we say here in Texas, husbands kiss your wives, wives kiss your husbands. Hug your babies, keep your broadhead sharp and your powder dry. And we'll see you next week right here on Blue Collar Elk Hunting. And for all of our grinders out there, here is just some really badass music from our brother Tony Wintrip to close us out.
Appreciate you guys.
Good
Good night, everybody. Hit it, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Song's called Bull Down. I could hear the thunder screaming in a canyon down below, where all my summer of scouting was a long way from the road. I'd walk miles and miles of ridge top to find his watering hole, where he'd breed his little harem, and I would test his soul with a fight inside. I'm gonna put a bull down. His rack was long and heavy from G1 up to G6, and he got this way from all these years of living out in the sticks with one clean miss right over his back. So bring it on, son, I could read his mind. These cows ain't yours, they're damn sure mine. Toe to toe, I'll meet you halfway here. And if the wind ain't right, you're a long way gone. These hooked up trees are gonna turn you on. If you wanna put a bull down. I'm strapped with the Hoyt Maxus, shoot the lights out any day. Yep, I'm gonna send an eastern axis through the air at you today. I got the recipe to put a bull down. So guard your grill, boy, here I come behind the Phelps call that I fooled you on. The wind is right and a muzzy's through your lungs. 'Cause I was watching you and you didn't see me through my Leopold 10x50s. And now you're freezer bound. I got a bull down. I got a bull down. Bull down.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, Tony.
Man.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much, Tony.
So
Hey,
everybody,
appreciate you guys.
good night, everybody. You can find Tony's music at bulldownproductions.com.